Jerry Doyle Show.
What I can say unequivocally is that if you are a U.S. person, the NSA cannot listen to your telephone calls, and the NSA cannot target your emails.
And have not.
And have not. They cannot and have not, by law and by rule. And unless they, and usually it wouldn't be they, it would be the FBI, go to a court and obtain a warrant.
There you go. President Obama on PBS's Charlie Rose saying he can say unequivocally that the NSA cannot, has not, and will not, by law and by rule, spy on you. Anybody buying it? I wonder if our guest is. Senator Rand Paul, the Republican senator from Kentucky, who the Washington Post said is the most interesting man in the political world. Senator Paul, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Jerry. Good to be with you.
Are you buying what the president's selling?
Well, you know, they also say the IRS isn't supposed to target you for your political beliefs, so that sort of makes me a bit skeptical. Then we've got the head of intelligence comes to the Senate and tells the Senate, oh, we're not collecting zero data on Americans, and it turns out he was only off by a factor of 1 billion bits of data a day. 1 billion phone calls a day are being recorded, the records on the phone call. So, you know, they've lost their credibility. And I've been saying it again and again, the president is losing the moral authority to lead this nation. And poll numbers are showing. They're crashing around him. The youth vote is leaving him because young people don't like hypocrisy. And he said he was for privacy, and now he's invading every American's privacy.
Well, if you're off by 1 billion, I think the CBO scores that within the margin of error, don't they?
Yeah, plus or minus. That's a statistical margin of error for these guys. You're right.
When you say the youth vote is leaving the president in droves, and the poll numbers certainly reflect that the scandals of Benghazi and the IRS and the AP and James Rosen and the NSA spy programs seem to have tarnished the administration before it tarnished the president. Obviously, now it's working its way to the president. But where does the youth vote go? It seems as if the Republican Party has done everything they can to alienate the younger voters, to alienate the fiscal conservatives, to alienate the minorities. I know you've been out there talking about the big tent. You've been out talking about what needs to be done. The Washington Post said that you could be, in fact, the first real candidate in 30 years with the potential to alter Reagan's three-legged stool of defense hawks, fiscal conservatives, and social conservatives. Is that kind of what the Republican Party has to do? Is that what you're attempting to do? And can you get it done to get those voters to take a look at the GOP?
I think the Republican Party needs a transformational event. Kind of like when in 1928, 2/3 of African Americans voted for Hoover. In 1932, 2/3 of African Americans voted for FDR. We need that kind of transformational event with African Americans, with Hispanics, with Asian Americans, but also with young people. And I think we get some of the way there by saying, guess what, guys? The Republican Party will defend your privacy. The Republican Party will defend justice. The idea is that everybody is equal before the law and that we're incarcerating 4 times as many African Americans for nonviolent drug crimes as we are white Americans is wrong. That the police going in and targeting blacks because they're an easier conviction so they can get more government grants is wrong. And I think if we stand up and champion education and say to those who are in the inner city who are poor that your public schools are failing you and the Democrats are more beholden to unions than they are to the kids, I think if we take this message on the road and take it around the country, I think you'll find that people maybe will find that the Democrats have taken for granted all of these constituencies they think they have a lock on.
To add to your comments about 1928, this might come as a shock to both black and white America. Every single one of the 23 African-American members of Congress before 1900 was a Republican. Now, I know that you're attempting to go out there and spread the message, hey, take a look at this. Take a look at what we're doing. Take a look at what our policies are all about. But it seems as if your Republican Party, of which I used to be a proud member, got too white, too right, and too uptight. And there seems to be a lot of people that are the current, and you're the salmon that's swimming against the current. There's a lot of people who like the current status quo and don't like guys like you coming in and moving the furniture around because they're pretty happy with the way they've designed the layout.
I think there is some resistance by the old guard, and there's gotten to be a little bit of a generational gap in the Republican Party. I also think, though, that if people are listening and they find that there are Republicans who say, you know what, we should have a less aggressive foreign policy. I want our country to be strong. I don't want anybody to be able to attack us, and we need to repulse any attacks. But also we don't need to be involved in every civil war around the country. I think if someone had that message and was fiscally conservative, believed in limited constitutional government, I think the message will resonate, and I think the party will grow because of it. And we need something like that, because what we have now is, you're right, we're the party of the Caucasian race. We're winning the white vote, but we're not doing very well in every other ethnic group. And we need a Republican Party that looks like the rest of America, and then we'll be the national party again we once were.
With regard to our involvement overseas, Johnny McWarmonger, your Senate colleague, and your other Senate colleague, Lindsey Graham, keep promising that there's going to be no boots on the ground in Syria. I don't buy that for a second, Senator Paul. When you take a look at what it is that we're up against with the involvement of Russia, Iran, and the Hezbollah in Syria, and what it is that they have to work with, and what we need to do to supposedly help the insurgent rebels that John McCain took a picture with, one of them being a terrorist, because we know who the good guys are. I see this as yet once again a race to be the world's police, and a lot of people are turned off by the constant saber rattling and the banging of the war drums.
Well, and here's the problem. Even in Afghanistan, where we've been there for 10 years, and I supported going in there, I thought it was the right thing to do. But even in Afghanistan, after 10 years, we have trouble determining who's our friend and who's our foe. We enlist people into the Afghan army that we train. We look away and they shoot us in the back, because these people are evil and they will lie. So my question is, in Syria, how are we going to tell friend from foe? And should we be giving surface-to-air missiles to some idiot that walks up and speaks in a language we don't understand and tells us he's our friend, and he would never use it against us, and he walks away and joins the band of Al-Qaeda, which is a third of the Syrian rebel army is said to be al-Nusra or Al-Qaeda. And
well, I just want to make a point to your backing us going into Afghanistan. I also thought that there were merits for doing that, but when we went in, it was one thing, and somewhere along the way, the mission changed. Cofer Black, who was the head of counterintelligence for the CIA, said something changed in 2003 because we had defeated the Taliban. We had al-Qaeda on the run. But my contention, Senator, is we went from combat to commerce, that the money was in the medicine, not in the cure. And there were a lot of U.S. multinationals that were making a ton of money with us managing a war instead of winning a war. And something happened where we lost our way. We started judging war based upon cell phone service and how much electricity they had and how good their schools were. I guess we should be a little bit more concerned about ours. But now here we are hailing the fact that the Taliban has opened up a business office in Qatar, and we're cheering the fact that we're going to be able to sit down and have peace talks with the Taliban if they reject their association with al-Qaeda. Why didn't we do that 10 years ago in 2003? Why are we doing it now after so many soldiers have been killed, lost their limbs, families displaced forever? Why now are we hailing something that we could have done 10 years ago?
Well, I think it's a significant argument in favor of not going into Syria. And with regard to Afghanistan, I think we have completed our mission. In fact, it's been quite a while since our mission's been completed. And I think it's not fair to our soldiers to have them there where they can't really depend on the Afghan soldiers not to shoot them in the back. We got bin Laden. We disrupted the Taliban. We disrupted the terrorist bases. And really, I think we linger so long, and you're right, we get into building their infrastructure. We have bridges collapsing, one in Washington State recently, one in Minneapolis a couple years ago. Yeah. We need road repairs. We need school repairs in our country. And the president was right if he would just follow through with what he said. He said we need to do some nation building at home, but yet he never stops anything. He just approved $1.3 billion to be sent to Egypt. And Egypt, meanwhile, has convicted 16 Americans of that are part of pro-democracy groups and actually imprisoned one American, and we still send them money.
When you take a look at, excuse me, by the way, Senator Rand Paul is with us on the program, randpaul2016.com website. You can follow him on Twitter at Senator Rand Paul. I look at these dollars that we're promising, these black holes that we have for taxpayers. You take a look at the amount of money that we're sending to Afghanistan, $100 billion to build their infrastructure. But when you look at what it is that we're doing with the money, where the money's going, nobody seems to know. And where's the accountability on this? I mean, these are real dollars that we could be using back here. When I look at what it is we're supposedly doing in training the Afghan forces, of which there are about 350,000 that are supposed to take control of their country in the formal handoff today, there was a Pentagon report that came out in December, Senator, that said only 1 out of 23 Afghan security forces are capable of functioning on its own. They have high literacy rates. Literacy rates are low. The desertion rates are high. Deserters have rejoined the fight, joined up with the insurgency. As you pointed out, the green on blue attacks where Afghan troops are attacking American comrades. I mean, really, in all the time, money, energy, effort, lives lost, and families displaced, 1 out of 23 of those Afghan forces are able to step up and operate on their own? What the hell have we been doing?
Well, we had to supply the Karzai family with money for their drug business. They have a little drug business going on the side. A lot of that went in cash, and there have been allegations that some of it went to Karzai's family and didn't actually go for official purposes. You remember when we sent the money in Iraq, the pictures were just incredible. A pallet after pallet of $100 bills, was to the tune of at least millions, if not billions of dollars sent in cash. That was to who knows what, who knows where it went. They have no real accounting of this kind of stuff. But the bottom line is there is a reason to defend the country. There is a reason to protect us, but there's no reason really to stay decade after decade in these countries trying to make them into something that they're not. We need to defend our country when we need to defend our country and vigorously, but we don't need to be involved in these, large, long-standing wars.
Senator, I know you've got a lot on your plate and you're very busy. I do appreciate you carving out some time to be with us on the program. You had asked that 10 million Americans join you in a class action lawsuit to take back our rights with regard to what we're seeing with the NSA spy programs, the metadata mining, whatever you want to call it. Where is that out? And what number do you think it's going to take to get other people's attention on Capitol Hill that we're not going to just give up our constitutional rights, our civil rights, under the guise of supposedly keeping us afraid, very afraid, of the ever impending threat of terrorism?
I think we have several 100,000 people who've signed up for the lawsuit to say, stop spying on us. We didn't give you permission to look at our phone data. And if you think we've committed a crime, ask a judge for a warrant. And we will file the case. There's already one filed by the ACLU. We haven't decided which one we will join and which one we can do. But if people want to sign up, they can go to RANDPAC, RANDPAC.com, and there's a petition there where you can sign up to be part of the lawsuit to tell the government, leave me alone.
Well, I like the fact that I'll call you my political salmon. I like the fact that you're swimming upstream, that you're going against the tide, that you're shaking up the status quo. And I like the fact that other people are starting to, pay attention to what it is that you're doing, because a lot of people dismissed you early on as, well, he's just out there trying to make a name for himself, and we really can't take him seriously. But serious people are looking at what you're doing, and you're dealing in a lot of serious areas, and you're stepping on a lot of entrenched political toes. And I like the fact that a lot of people don't like what it is that you're doing, because a lot of us really like what you're doing, and that's challenging what it is that's not working for us.
All right. Well, thanks, Jerry. I got to run, and we'll be out your way. You're in Nevada, right?
Yes, and you pronounced it correctly.
Yeah, I've been trying to get you. You gave me the lecture on it. I'm going to be out there to Freedom Fest, middle of July in Las Vegas. We'd love to see some of your listeners come.
Absolutely. We'll get some information up at our website on that. We'll have you back on the program to talk about it, and you can come out here and enjoy the lovely 112-degree temperature. But it's a dry heat.
Sounds good. Talk to you later. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Senator. Senator Rand Paul. RandPaul2016.com is his website. If you want to be a part of the petition to take back our constitutional rights, the lawsuit against government spying, that's RandPAC.com. And we'll get information up there about the Freedom Fest in Las Vegas sometime in July, which we don't know anything about, but we will be informed shortly. Stick with us.